Excuse the shots in the background, I can't stop those, but what I can do is talk about a world where we don't even need to take shots. Well, the only shots we need to take are in preparation for a tyrannical uprising. Let's start out with that. The original intention for the Second Amendment, right, was that we would be able to have our own arms, right? And I guess, there would be exceptions to this rule if there was a crazy person in the village. But other than that, you shouldn't even be needing to register your car. You shouldn't be needing to register your gun. You shouldn't be needing to register your business. You can register if you'd like to, and if you would like to use Caesar's system. But the American spirit should be about not needing to use it. Not needing to use the system. Let me get behind the building here. That might be better. If I go over the hill, it would completely disappear, but... So anyhow, again, that's the true intention of the Second Amendment and the American spirit, is do it on your own. Why do you need someone to tell you what to do? What happened to self-sustainability? So that's a trip. But in this video, I did want to get in just the craziness of how things are and how complex people seem to deal with it. It seems as if we just simplified things, and if we just simplified our way of being and took and looked after the more basic of things, we'd be a lot happier. It feels like most of our problems are caused by us being well adjusted to a completely inorganic and dangerous society and dangerous conditions. So we go further on, and first we address one of the things that I was thinking about, which is school. It's one thing if you're learning something that you need to know. It's another thing if you're learning about 90% bullshit and 10% the things you should know. Why in school are we not taught that the Federal Reserve is as federal as Federal Express? I heard Patrice O'Neill quoting someone on that. When are we going to be told that money, this money that we think has any value, is being inflated at astronomical, preposterous quantities because it's being printed at leisure of this private organization, right? When are we going to talk about the fact that we're so advanced today, supposedly, we're so modern today, supposedly, but it seems like we're working harder and we're more caught up, we're more stuck in illusion, and we're more unhappy than perhaps the medieval times, or perhaps when times were simpler. Why is that? Okay, so I'll just make it real simple, my question here, right? If the robots and the technology and the AI are getting better and better, and supposedly at some point man does not need to work, why is it that, it seems like we're working harder? It seems that in the World War II era, or, after that era, that one person working for the system could support the entire family, but now 2 people aren't enough. It seems that welfare is almost, very common. Like most people should be on welfare. It seems like that. It also seems like someone like me, a lifestyle where I don't even like welfare because I don't want to take government's money. I'd rather take people who support me's money and do it organically, and be more independent, right? I'd rather live a life where I don't spend much, which is also why I'm going to go to Rhoda and see how the people in Rhoda live and how that's okay for me, because I live a very simple lifestyle. If I need food, I can go up a coconut tree, or I can forage and I can go in this beautiful tropical paradise and find food. I'm lucky enough to have that. because the man is a tropical species. But getting back to the point, back then you would be able to work very little and get a lot out of it. And so if we now have people being, redundant based on machines working, shouldn't we be able to live at a more, prosperity, abundant type scenario? Why is it that we're still caught up and we're still being harvested, right? Literally harvested by this government that's really a pirate on dry dock, right? If you go into correct syntax, correct sentence structure, and the grammar and the mechanics of this all, you will find out that again, from birth, you've almost been dishonored, right? You've been claimed as a dead entity in this, again, pirate and dry dock system. So if I were to explain that again, a pirate organization or entity, a pirate called the U.S. corporation, not the USA, not the United States of America, but a U.S. corporation is, operating as admiral, is operating as admirable. But a lot of these judges are not really making sound judgments. So what's really admirable about it, this admiralty system, It'd be one thing if this admiralty system was being managed and the trust was being, looking after properly, but the public trustees are now posing as executors. The public trustees are now posing as the authority. The public trustees who we employ as the people and who serve us seem to have, most of them have to have a power trip. There are some good ones, I will admit, but most of them are perpetuating this thing. And this is the funny thing about government, is it is us. It is our problem. It is our, it should be our initiative to occupy the Getty, to look at Stephen D. Kelly, to look at these things and say, hey, enough is enough. It's our time to be responsible, right? But no. So now as time is going on, we have less control over our own lives, and we're constantly giving value away from our lives to this thing that we call society, to this thing that we call the media, to this thing we call other people's looks, other people's acceptance, other people's acknowledgement. That has become more important, and through this necessity for other people's acknowledgement, it has destroyed what really matters. And what really matters, folks, is land, is having a land for your family, is reproducing and multiplying, both in fruit but also people. That is really what's going to get us to Garden of Eden, but it's almost like everything else is a distraction, along with pedophilic people underground in these El Dorado type places, or looking for El Dorado type places, ruining everything. And again, inventing this money that's printed by a private organization that's hiding behind a U.S. corporation that calls themselves the government, when really they're just instilling their maritime admiralty law, their war law, on us as a foreign vessel, a foreign entity coming into our land and our space, our indigenous, you see what I'm saying, our home, and telling us what to do in our home. That is what the U.S. government is doing to us in our land and our place to flourish, our place to thrive, our place to plant seeds and, again, multiply and see the abundance for ourselves without tax, without our information being constantly surveyed and leaked, with real freedom, right? Real freedom in a real free society. I'm sure things will be much safer. And unfortunately, a lot of us aren't responsible enough for a real, safer, real society. So that is the dilemma. So another thing I was talking to about with my friend Anthony was the fact that kids, I think we can go to the very core of the issue, right? let me paint an image for you. We're in an abyss. We're falling down into the darkness. And whenever our kids are born, they're born a little bit higher than us in the abyss, right? And they're kind of climbing. We're slowly falling, right? So they're kind of climbing. And then eventually with school, with education, with indoctrination, with propaganda, with fear, with conditional loving, we grab them with this rope and we drag them down into the abyss. That is what's happening today, is really the code that will disintegrate all this, the code that will void all this hell, lies in the children, in the future ancestors, right? Or really the ancestors, because the ancestors live in the children. That's why the children are much less, conditioned. They're much less brainwashed. So really the answer to all this is in our children. So let's go the opposite way. Why is it that the answer is not there? Why is it that our children have not saved us already from falling into the abyss? Or the childlike nature in oneself, which is the innocence or the chastity in oneself. Why has that not pulled through and saved us? Well, because, again, from childbirth, we're signed as a dead corporation into this plethora of agreements that we were not fully disclosed. We didn't know the full details. It was under coercion and duress. There was no meeting of the minds. You see, there were certain things that were set up that were very unfair. So if you don't go to school, CPA or whatever the fuck, or this child services, right, that are really the pedophiles in disguise, come to you and try to take your children. Legally, but unlawfully, you see? So this legal system immediately from childbirth basically forces one and one's child to subscribe to their method of thinking. And what is their method of thinking? Is consume. It's to be just a consumer. Don't produce anything. Forget the plants. I mean, this is what John Dye was getting into. Forget creating your own wealth. Forget creating your own food. Go to a store. Work our job. Do our little dance. Do our little acting. And then we will give you the money so you don't have to worry. But I am worried. Even when I have money, I realize I have nothing. That's why I'm going to these friends' places. That's why I'm going to find our own places. That's why I'm making connection. That's why Operation Lighthouse is happening, because I'm worried about the state of the world. Because that's what common sense would do, right? And so common sense comes in and says, hey, let's start planting. Hey, let's start raising awareness to grow and to, raise our own Pokemon, raise our own cattle and our own animals, livestock, right? Raise our own plants. Let the plants raise us, right? No one thinks about it that way. So here I pose a question, right? Why is it that this unfortunate education is mandated on our children, right? What is it that is so important to the deep state or the cabal or the fallen aspect of ourselves that wants to stop the children from learning what is right and what is natural? Well, again, if the children knew what was right and what is natural, they would pull us out of the abyss. They're much more closer to their superpowers. They can understand things without language. We actually confuse children by instilling language in them in a very forceful way, right? In a left brain sense, we teach language. And by teaching language in that way, we limit maybe 90% of the understanding that's possible through words and language. Because we've completely disconnected the subconscious part of it, which is body language or action. Not just your words, but what is backed up by your words. You see what I'm saying? What is backing up your words? What is corroborating your words? So we go on and we ask this question, and the reason why, which is apparent to me, again, the answer is in the question, is that our children, again, need to be conditioned, need to be indoctrinated, need to be forced to go into school, need to be forced for certain health requirements and all this by a standardized system. We call it SAT, standardized testing, of your, acuity? Acuity to what? To conform and kneel and suck The balls of Satan? What is it that you're really testing for here? That you can memorize certain things and then forget them 2 years later? It's a whole load of horse manure, you know? And horse manure is actually better than it. So that's one of the things that I was talking about with my friend Anthony, my dear friend Anthony, who's letting me clear his jungle, along with Dion, along with Jason, along with Charlie, along with Dorina. These are just chamorros, you know? This is just Saipan. So many people understand, see, and want to help, and realize, you know, let's go straight into religion. That religion is a lie. That real legion, right? That religion really goes back to hold within, or something like that. Something like that. But the point is, what religion has turned into now is decadence, and it's basically social media. That's what religion is now. You see, religion is more of a display. You know, it's more of a superficial dispute. It's not really real anymore. The real sense of religion, folks, is not conforming to anything and anyone, being completely and totally original, and in being completely and totally original, being ethical and moral by no choice, right? Because, you know, by being close to the originator and the creator, by being a creative being, you know, there are certain, how do you say, virtues and ethics and codes to creation. So, religion has turned into personify the God, make the God a person, right? Make everything that is life into one person. And you are not that one person. That's what religion has become. Now, I interject here that all religion comes back from the stars. That's where we get any story, a story of the starry night. Every story, which is the stars, and look into cellular Earth, right, is about you and inside of you. The stars are inside of you. The Earth is the outside realms, okay? Really, outer space is inner space. They turned it exactly upside down, because all there is you, which is the torus field, which is the Toruth, which is the tree, which is life, which is the tree of life, which is the torus, which is the apple that Eve bit, or the apple that's in Adam's apple because he bit it and then he swallowed. It's a torus field. It's your torso, right? So they made this story of the torus field, and then the proton of the torus field, which is the sun, the light of the world, going through it all, or being the middle way, right? And maybe the electron is the moon, however you want to interpret it, or it could be the Earth, or maybe the Earth is the neutron, whatever you want to say. Sorry, I got a little interrupted there. The technology does not want to bear with me. But anyhow, it's a scientific metaphor. God's sun, the light of the world in the sky, that's going around the 12 months, which is the 12 disciples, right? Which is the 12 labors of Hercules, the 12 nights of Arthur, you know. Wherever you want to go, there's 12. And then 13. You know, okay, so the point is that religion has become so literalized to the point where it's now superficial. Isn't that very interesting? It's been so materialized and material that it's now become a process of faking your faith for something. It's like you're trying to convince everyone that you have lots of faith. I don't have faith in anything that I don't know, for sure. That's why I don't have blind faith. Because blind faith is not really devotion and love. It's not blind. It sees and it's very aware. It's aware that the Christians, that the Muslims, that the Buddhists, that the Hindu, whatever and wherever you are and whatever you are subscribing to, it is an idea that has been developed in the past. So real religion is no idea or idol or image in the past. That is real religion because it's present with you and me right now. So perhaps our children, perhaps our religious institutions, perhaps our government and this legal situation that we find ourselves in is all stopping us from being present right now and planting the seeds for the future generation right now. Perhaps I'm wrong. See you in the next one.